Right off the bat, INAYAH, Life After Gods does something that immediately pulled me in. It sets the stage with a world that feels alive. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic landscape, filled with crumbling ruins, overgrown vegetation, and an unsettling presence of bugs. Big ones. It's one of those settings that feels strange but familiar, and for some reason, I found myself just wanting to be there, to roam through this strange, vibrant, dangerous world. At the heart of it all is INAYAH, the titular character, who's on a quest to discover the fate of her tribe after they were wiped out years ago. Armed with her father's gauntlet, she sets out to explore and uncover what's left of the world, and what might still be lurking in the shadows. The story doesn't overwhelm you, but the simplicity works in its favor. It's about survival, exploration, and the bonds you form with the world around you. Let's talk about the world itself. From the first screen, it's clear that INAYAH is a game built with an eye for beauty. The art direction here is exceptional. The hand-drawn visuals are not just good, they're stunning. The characters, the enemies, and the environments have this unique, almost hand-painted feel. If you've seen shows like Samurai Jack or Primal, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's the kind of art that you can stare at for hours and still discover something new in the background. The environments are full of life, more specifically, full of nature reclaiming civilization. We're talking jungle-like areas where plants take over old tech, ruins of long-forgotten cities, and creepy, bug-infested locales that somehow feel organic and alien at the same time. Each area has its own distinct feel, and navigating them is as much about soaking in the details as it is about advancing the plot. It's a world that invites you to explore every nook and cranny. The combat system is fluid and fast, with a focus on swapping between 3 distinct weapons on the fly. The gauntlet gives you access to a pair of blades, a set of fists, and a flail. Each weapon has its own set of abilities, giving you multiple ways to approach any situation. The blades are fast and fluid, great for quick strikes and parrying, while the fists are all about speed and shields, allowing you to tank damage and recover health. The flail is slower, but it hits like a truck and can absorb enemy projectiles. The weapon swap mechanic is intuitive and lets you feel like a real combat matter as you chain attacks and abilities in rapid succession. But it's not just about fighting. INAYAH mixes in traversal and puzzle solving with its combat. The weapons themselves serve as mobility tools, each granting you new ways to reach otherwise inaccessible areas. The air dash, wall climb, and ledge grab are all tied to your weapon progression, and as you unlock more tools, the world begins to open up. There's a real sense of empowerment here as you gain more abilities and start zipping around the environment like you own the place. However, let's not sugarcoat everything. The traversal mechanics do have their quirks. The early game feels a little frustrating, especially when you don't have all the weapons. Some of the platforming can be tricky because you can't grab ledges unless you're using specific abilities at specific spots, and the sheer size of the rooms can lead to some awkward backtracking. You'll spend a lot of time running through areas you've already explored, and in the early stages, this can feel a bit tedious. It's not that the game doesn't make up for it, it absolutely does. Once you have all the weapons and abilities at your disposal, the sense of freedom and fluidity in movement is unmatched. You start feeling like a force of nature, effortlessly hopping between platforms, dashing through enemies, and solving puzzles with ease. But those early moments can be a little bit of a slog. The music and sound design deserve a special mention as well. The soundtrack perfectly complements the atmosphere of INAYAH, Life After Gods. From the haunting melodies in the bug-infested regions to the more intense, high-energy tracks during boss fights, the music sets the tone and adds an extra layer of immersion. It's the kind of soundtrack you don't just hear in the background, you feel it in your bones. The voice acting, however, is a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the performances can sound a little flat, especially during the more dramatic moments. It's not terrible, but it doesn't quite live up to the standards set by the visuals and music. It's a game that has so much to love, but also some significant hurdles. It's a 7 out of 10 for me, and I would absolutely recommend INAYAH, Life After Gods to fans of Metroidvania titles who don't mind a little bit of trial and error, especially those who appreciate art-driven worlds, deep combat systems, and a game that rewards exploration.